Oh my gosh, I'm already sweating a little bit. If you're watching, I literally look like a highlighter. We got the Get Shit Done hat happening again. Here's why I'm sweating. We're talking money. We're in our money series. And today, for the first time ever, I'm going to share some real numbers with you. I'm doing it because this conversation just needs to happen more. I'm going to own my stuff here and let you know I've made some mistakes, and it's been very humbling. There have been seasons as a business coach where I really didn't know if this was going to be a thing. There are seasons where I spent a lot of money on things I should not have, like outsourcing things, courses, shiny objects, and I'm going to share transparently some real numbers today that I hope help you feel better about your scenario and really show what it takes to get to the point I'm at, which I'm proud of the things I've done, but I am not done yet. And I just want to vomit. Here we go. We just have to get right into it. Today, we're talking real numbers. I'm going to share mine. And I broke this down into 2 sections at the end. I really want to help support you. If you're in that beginning phase, I'll talk about what that means in my parameters. And if you're in the scaling phase, which is where I put myself now, I want to share those numbers with you too. So let's jump on in. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I know it needs to be said. I hope this helps. If nothing else, we're opening up the conversation, and that's good. Here's the truth. Here's the real talk of being a business owner. We're going to take it back in time in case you do not know my story. My name is Kelsey, and prior to being a business coach, I had my own hair salon. Some people don't know this, but I actually studied entrepreneurship at my university. I did business consulting before. So before you come at me and say I'm one of those COVID coaches that just makes stuff up, I studied it in school. I feel confident in my craft. I loved consulting, but doing it at 22 when you haven't built your own thing is very different than doing it now as a prior salon owner. So I'm grateful for the journey my career took me, but that's the context that I think you need to know. I've always looked at small business and realized there was a gap between what I was taught in school and what reality is. And hopefully in me sharing this type of content with you, it bridges that gap and puts it into a practical perspective where you can take what I'm sharing and apply it to your life and business. So here we go. I opened my salon. How many years ago was it? 2018, I think, is when it opened. It's worth noting that though I only worked 3 years for somebody else at a hair salon building my clientele, not that it really matters, but I was top of my class in beauty school. And I worked very hard to get like consistent clientele for the less than a year that I was in beauty school. Prior to that, I actually started doing hair in my college. I would do weddings and photo shoots and going out on the weekend hair. So I've done hair and makeup longer than I realize. I share that because when I launched my hair salon, when I opened the doors, I was able to bring in $100K in revenue in 10 months, which is crazy. And when I play it back, I had been in the industry for years and I've established myself in the industry, and that definitely contributed to my success. So I have to remember that. Just because the business, I was new to owning that kind of business does not mean I was new to the industry. And I think that's really important to note. My goal with sharing these numbers, actually, I have some advice around what these numbers told me in these different chapters of businesses I was in. So please stick around for that piece of it. But I came out of the gate as an entrepreneur. I had tried other little mini side hustles, but I fully decided, you know what? I'm opening my own salon. From the day I opened, 10 months later, I hit $100K in revenue, which again, I'm very proud of. Some other things to note, the previous salon I worked at was 10 or 15 minutes away. So location, it wasn't a huge jump for people. I was already doing hair and I opened a business doing hair. So though I was going from being an employee to a business owner, I had clientele, I had demand. And I think that's important to factor in when you're thinking of starting a business. My first year of coaching, I've never said this out loud. And this is based off of my money date numbers. So for those who have been along this money journey, the last couple episodes, I talk about how to do a money date. I talk about how to set personal and business financial goals and why they're important. So using all of that, I have these spreadsheets right in front of me where I calculated my revenue. So this is not exact to the penny, but this is a pretty accurate-ish indication of just revenue. So cash in the door, this is not profit. This is just how much cash came in. My very first year of coaching, which was 2021, I still had my salon for the month of January, a week in February, which meant that contributed to my revenue. This is wild to me. My revenue for the entire year was $66,000. That sucks. It sucks to say it out loud. It brings back memories of a really difficult time. It reminds me of some poor decisions I made and just my inability to be radically honest with myself. But that's the truth. I made $66,000 in revenue. That's not how much I paid myself. That is not how much my business profited. It was just pure revenue. And it's even skewed because ironically, January in the salon was my best month I have ever had in the salon world. I've surpassed that now, but in the salon world, January was my best month. So my salon was successful, but I was coaching and doing both for a while. It was hard to do both, and I made the jump in February. And those numbers tell me it was a little premature, but I went for it. That is also when I went and built a course. That's when I hired a coach. I made some choices that really, I don't regret any of them, but I was not honest with myself or aware of what it really took to launch a coaching business. And again, I gave the hair perspective and the history because it's important for you to understand that though I opened a hair salon, I had been in the industry, established clientele, established myself as an authority in the space for years before I opened. And then I naively thought, people in my chair talk about hair, they're going to hire me to coach them. In 2021, Kelsey, that was clearly not the case. So that's the reality of 2021. 2022, which was my second year, is also when we launched Empower P&W. From the LLC perspective, that lives under my business and brand. So the revenue for year 2, counting the community, and again, just revenue, not how much I'm paying myself, was $83,000. So some growth, but we added a new business to the mix. And I still was making decisions like joining the mastermind. I joined the mastermind in 2022. There was one I went on in 2023, which we will talk about, but I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall. I'm running ads at one point. I have a Pinterest manager at one point. I am doing crazy things with this little bit of money that's coming in, trying to grow my business. And don't worry, the second half of this, I'm going to give advice of what I would do in these different phases, but that's the reality. 2022, that's how much revenue my business made. Year 3, I have to add the caveat. This includes CEO Society, which is another community I started because why have one when you can have 2, as well as Empower. Just to sidebar, those communities are not profit making. We cover our expenses, but all of my founders for those 2 groups, we did not do it to make a bunch of money. It pretty much pays for itself plus a tiny bit of compensation for our time, but not a lot. So I add the total in because I did in my second year of business, so I wanted to be consistent. My 2023 revenue was $141,000. And again, that's not profit. That's not how much I'm paying myself. But 2023 was the year I was like, okay, this is a thing. I am doing it. And the funny thing is I have the least amount of support I have ever had. I have awesome people, but I definitely am very clear on what it really takes to grow the business from here. And guess what? The humble truth, a lot of it is on me. I didn't understand what hard work meant. These numbers I was chasing, I was probably you. I was buying the courses. I went on this mastermind at the beginning of 2023. I was like, I need to get better at sales, and this person's really good at sales, so maybe I'll go and I'll learn a lot. And ultimately, my big takeaway from that very expensive trip was, Kelsey, just do the hard shit. Which for me, that I wasn't facing, none of this was being addressed, was sales. I did not understand that, hey, I'm good at doing hair. Here's some photos of the work I do. Either you come to me or you don't. That same philosophy doesn't really work for coaching. And the other thing that this tells me is the importance of building a brand, because when I transitioned in 2021, which is year 1 of business, when I transitioned into full-time coaching, I didn't really bring my audience up to date. I just quietly would post more coaching inspirational stuff here and there. I didn't really start establishing myself as a coach in the space until later in the year. The nice thing is my revenue grew every year, so that's encouraging. But all in all, if we really put some timestamps to this, year 1, consistent content, showing up, messing up, being too salesy, email sequences, pitching, DM automations, all of that stuff. If I just had focused on building a relationship with you, honestly, then this is proof that community and content creation and just consistently showing up, consistently providing value to people pays off. It just takes a long time. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait 3 years to make that much money. Yeah, me either. Somehow we made it work, but that's the truth. And the advice I would give to you is keep showing up. Even if you're not seeing the ROI yet, this is a crock pot. What we're doing right here, you and me, this is a crock pot. This is something that years down the road, someone could just be searching and find this exact episode. And I think it's important to attack content with that mindset, in that if you're launching a new thing, whether it's an offer or like a full-on business pivot, it just takes time and you have to talk about it a lot more than you think. That is the biggest piece of advice I could give. And that's what these numbers tell me, because the more that I've gained my confidence, the more I've put myself out there and talked, the more I've established my tone of voice and the subjects that I love speaking about, obviously the numbers are showing you the growth. It's there. And I should add, my current 2024 goal for revenue is $300,000. And if I had the Januaries and the Februaries and the Marches continue on at that same momentum, I don't think that's completely out of question, which is wild, because me a year ago was like, do I just quit and go to a corporate job for 2 seconds? But I did think about it. So those are the numbers. That's the truth of what being a business coach takes. And that does not factor in a ton of costs that were just desperate attempts at trying to feel better about what I'm doing, feel more confident in what I'm doing. And I think sometimes just going through stuff is so important and you learn a lot through that process, but that's like the reality. It has not been this beautiful, amazing journey. It took 3 years. I always had this mental goal when I transitioned from owning the salon to coaching of surpassing my salon revenue. I mean, that's the whole point of why I did this thing. And it took until year 3 for that to come to fruition. And that sucks ego-wise, but I don't regret anything. I'm thankful for that. And hopefully you find some, comfort in knowing that it's not easy. I think this is why I'm so nervous. I know for a fact I'm going to have family, friends, people who know me probably be surprised by these numbers. Some people are going to be like, that's awesome, you're killing it, which thank you. I still have a lot that I want to accomplish. And some people will be listening and they're going to be like, oh, I thought you made way more than that. And that's just the truth and the risk I have in sharing this. But I just think it's important to be honest and authentic about it. And hopefully either camp you're in, you find it helpful and motivating. So my goal for the year is $300,000. I'm breaking that up into 3 offers. This is crazy. I am hyper focused on my one-on-one coaching with teams. I'm loving it. It's something that I want to continue to do for just a very select few people. I am for sure launching a retreat mastermind hybrid coming this summer. That will be for my established business owners who are either first hire and beyond, and wanting to really grow as a leader in their business, get clear on how to work on their business, grow their teams, and strategically improve their processes in a way that will create a solid foundation for new things. And then the community. We still have our Empower PNW. If you're listening to this, I was one of the co-founders of a different group. I still love my friend Molly, who started CEO Society with me. It's such a special place. I just had to own my capacity, and I don't have capacity to be giving my all to both groups. So she is spearheading CEO. I just have Empower with my friends Michelle and Taryn, so there's 3 of us. And that's it. That's my offer suite for 2024. And between those 3 things, I'm going to make $300,000. I'm making it happen. And that number may be wild to you, it may be not impressive, don't care. I just think it's important to share. So as of now, where I'm at in business, I'm treating my business like it's that dollar revenue generating. That's not the right way to word it, but I'm treating my business as if we're already there. And I'm even going to transparently share the percentages that I use in my monthly money date. This whole month we've talked a lot about money, and one of the episodes was about having your money date and what categories to add up. I'm going to transparently share with you where mine are currently at. Here's the ask. Please take this into consideration. 1, I'm treating my business like we're aiming for that 300,000 in rev. 2, coaching. Most of my cost is my time. I do have some costs like coffee, gas, different platforms that we're a part of. I also have a podcast editor, social media manager, but in general, my costs are pretty low. So these percentages may not apply to you, but this is what I am currently doing as my goals for each month. I'm aiming to keep my costs under 15%. I'm aiming to keep my team, ideally 10, but up to 15%. And then the way I am saving for taxes is I'm doing 22% of my profit. I need to add, I'm on payroll, so that's also paying my taxes already through the system we have set up. So 22% profit may be overkill. My plan is to do this for a couple months and check in with my CPA and see if I'm off base or not. And then that last piece is profit, and I'm budgeting about 5% for that account with the goal specifically of growing my team. So those are all the real raw numbers of Kelsey Marie Coaching. I just felt like I needed to clear the air there. And again, I don't want this to be like a comparison thing. If you're listening and that feels way out of reach, I have massive compassion for you and you can do it. If you're listening and you're judging the crap out of me now, then so be it. That's the risk I'm willing to take in sharing this because I think it's that important. But here's why. Numbers don't lie, but they're an awesome tool to help us in our business. And those numbers signify very different mindset spaces I was in. And I broke it down into 2 sections because in part of this work, I'm getting really clear on who I serve best. And this even sucks to say out loud. I don't think I'm the best person for someone who is brand new to business for the first time. And I really struggled with that because I have this like savior complex thing where I really believe in my people. I want to help them. I want to save them. But I've learned time and time again that my content, the way I coach and help people, is really best situated for the people who are fully in the game. And some of you may be triggered what I'm about to say, but it needs to be said. Not everyone is going to make it. And that's just the reality. And if I let that go and I speak to the people who I serve best, that's just going to make this community that much more powerful. And it just means I'm serving the people who I serve best for the right reasons too. It's a mutual benefit, even though in the moment right now it feels crappy. Like even writing these notes, I had a whole subsection for if you're just getting started, and I took it off because I am not the best person for you. Granted, there's going to be that one unicorn listening to this who is me 3 years ago, who's going to be like, yeah, okay, so what, Kelsey? I'm going to be that person. I may not have my business yet, but I have that mindset and I believe in myself. Then you're welcome to stay. I'm not saying leave. I think that clarity in my target market and my messaging is going to be really important. One of the people I look up to the most doesn't even know I exist, and he only even speaks to multi-million in profit, not even revenue, multi-million profit businesses. I'm not even in that zip code. I'm not even on that continent, but I listen to his stuff because I know someday I will be there. So you may be that person for this piece of content. And if that's the case, awesome. You're so welcome. But I'm really going to start to position my messaging to align with those established and growing business owners because that is my sweet spot and that's what I do best. All that to say, I took all the numbers that we talked about earlier. I broke it down into 2 sections. Here's the first section. If you are just getting started, and for the sake of my mind, you just getting started, you're 30,000 to 100K a year. So 3K months and up. That is where you're at. We've established you're a business. Been there, done that. We're past that point. If you're in that space, so this would be me, year 1, probably even year 2-ish. I'm really focusing on minimal costs. I'm focusing on keeping costs down as much as possible. I'm focusing on sales generating activities. How can I continue to have discovery calls? If I'm having the calls, but I'm not closing them, how can I get better at closing them? If I'm not having the calls in the first place, how can I get better at putting my name out there? I'm guesting on podcasts. I'm guest speaking at the chamber. I'm reaching out to different communities like my friend Inbal at Like Minded Collective and asking if I can teach a workshop. I'm really focusing on getting my name out there and then directing people to spend time with me because if they spend time with me, I have a chance to sell them. I'm keeping my team expenses minimal. Pinterest is not going to save the day if you're in this chapter of business. TikTok strategy is not going to save the day in this chapter of business. Nicole, who's my editor and awesome at what she does, she's actually not the right fit for this chapter of business, which is funny because Nicole, we met while I was in this camp. And all that to say, I think just having the radical honesty with yourself of where you're at and what needs to happen to get you to that next level is crucial. And it's keep it simple. How do I do the same one offer over and over again and just continue to improve and make it better? How do I keep costs low? I'm also in this phase 30 to 100K focusing on building the brand. I want to be established in the area. I want people to know who I am and know what I do. And I'm focusing on those key things. And if content creation is like stressful and I quote unquote feel like I can't handle it on top of everything else, I'm going to audit my time, see where it's really going, and find a way to do it myself because I am not in a place to outsource that. Outsourcing social media, for the most part, there's very few exceptions, but at this stage of business with AI and different texts and apps and systems, there's better things you can do to leverage your time. Outsourcing that one thing, it's not quite the time yet. Maybe towards that 100K, maybe 80, 90K, 100, depending. But in general, that's what I'm focusing on. And that's why this number conversation is so important because you make different decisions depending on what chapter of business you are in. And it's worth being really aware of that. So camp number 2 is this. If I'm in that scaling season, which is where I am now, and scaling to me, you have 100K and beyond. It's not quite that direct. Maybe even 83K, like at the end of 2022, I could feel the momentum in my business. I could tell I was beyond that pure survival mode. And it was more like, okay, but now how do I keep this going? That was my mindset going into 2023. That may be where you're at today. Here's what I'm doing in that scaling situation when it comes to my numbers. I'm having a game plan for the months that are extra profitable. One of my clients who went from side hustle to full-time in their business to adding some other offerings in their business. One of the offerings involves going to in-person events that are pretty high cost. So we came up with this plan. We still need to execute on it. You know who you are. But we came up with a plan that when we have those events, having a high percentage of that profit actually go to an account that we could use at a later time in order to fund the next event. So how can you have a game plan for those more profitable months? Because these events make massive profit for this person, but they also have massive costs leading up to it. So that's one way we can protect that and have a game plan. Have a plan for those profitable months. Number two, I'm really focused on cultivating that brand, especially if I'm in the coaching space. But in general, I find my business owners who are at the 100K and above, they get this or they're aware they need to improve on it. And it could be building the overall company brand. I have a lot of business owners who are in that space really wanting to clean up that messaging, really focus on, okay, if normally you see Kelsey for this, I want you to come see this person. That should feel seamless, building almost like a cult-like following. But then also this shift of once that is well and good, how can I build my personal brand as the CEO that can still leverage and direct traffic to the overall company brand? So brand is huge in this chapter of business. I'm focusing in the scaling season on doing the same stuff, but better and higher end. So for me, that's this one-on-one team thing I mentioned as far as one of my core offers. Later in this season, I'm coming to a place where if you don't have a W-2, then this is not going to be the best offer for you, which is really hard because I have my savior complex, but I have future stuff I'm building that's going to be a better fit for that person. It allows me also to focus on a deeper level with my clients who are in that team boat. But yeah, same but better, but higher end. I think that's so important. I'm constantly working on my one-on-one offer. Like, how can I make it better? How could I make it more efficient? How can I be more supportive, meet people where they're at, help them get more shit done? Like, I'm almost obsessed with how do I make that better? And I'm really like putting my energy onto that nerve because it's important to continue to innovate from there. And my one-on-one is my core offer. I love that time with my people, and I love just the ability we have to get so much done when it's intimate like that. So I want to protect that. Then in the scaling season, I'm also really focused on my leadership. And this is something that I am definitely focusing on when things go wrong, when something breaks, when we're working with, I don't know, a client. I do some stuff for my college too, and we have different contracts with them and different engagements. And there's times where balls get dropped and I usually would just come in and save the day. Now I'm using it more as an opportunity to be like, hey, this went wrong. Do you have capacity to fix it right now? If no, sometimes I will save it. But then I follow up. Hey, what happened there? What could we do different? Is the process not the right fit? Can you, moving forward, just communicate if you're needing something from us? So really coming at it from a perspective of I want to create long-term solutions if things get dropped. Where in the past, I was so focused on just getting stuff done that I wasn't in that mindset. That was not a priority. Now, leadership is a massive priority for me in my business. And then the last thing, I'm launching the retreat and mastermind hybrids very soon because my people are begging me for it. Whereas before I try to anticipate needs, now I'm in a season where it's been so long since I've launched something that I know it's a good time to do it. Most importantly, I'm really excited about it. I would launch it yesterday if I could. To do it the way I want to, I can't share too much information, but just know, like, I really thought a lot and created the process to support this coming out, but I'm really excited about it. And I only have capacity to put things out like that because my initial needs are met. I'm out of that initial just like proof of concept phase in my business, and I'm able to take things to the next level. I'm not building it out of a place of greed. I'm building it out of a place of passion. And honestly, having 2 offers sounds pretty sweet to me. So that is where I'm currently at in my business. My intention with this episode was just to pop up the hood and let you take a look at the engine or whatever. I'm hoping it was helpful for you. And if you're listening to this episode, I would actually love to hear from you. Please share it on your social media. Maybe send me a DM of a screenshot of you listening to it. I think that'd be awesome. I'm most active on Instagram at Kelsey Marie Knudsen. And then I would even love to hear your numbers if you're comfortable in sharing. I think normalizing money talk is really important because as we're all going through this journey of entrepreneurship, there's things that we learn along the way that we could help each other out with. So that's what I have for you this week. That's the real talk. I feel like naked right now. You like know the most vulnerable, honest, realistic numbers of my business. And just know this too, if you're listening, there are seasons where I really let those numbers define me. I only felt successful if I hit X. The months I hit this number, I'm successful. The months I don't, I'm a failure. I've done a lot of work to separate myself from that. And in a weird way, this sounds opposite, but for me, the only way I was able to do that was to honestly face this stuff in a productive way, having the clear personal goal, having the clear business goals, and then every month after month looking at it consistently. And instead of attacking myself saying, hey, gosh, I only brought in $2,000 this month. I can't live off of that. And I know I need to pay myself $4,000. My business only paid me $1,000. Okay, so that's a gap of $3,000. What do I need to do? Is that one more client? Is that 2 more courses? Being really intentional in those moments to make sure I'm making choices and moving the ball forward strategically, not because I'm coming out of a place for desperation, but I'm coming out of a place of awareness and strategy. And that's so important. And no one can do this work for you. Like, you have to do it for you. I can help guide. I can hype you up. I can share my mess and hopefully that helps you. But I just want you to know you are more than your numbers, but you cannot ignore them any longer. So that's all I have for you. I will catch you next week. And we're going to dive all into a money date with my husband. I know he's very nervous, but it's going to be a great episode. I'm really excited. And let's keep this money conversation going. Definitely take a screenshot of this episode and let me know you're listening on Instagram. Bye.